Have you ever shared something personal, only to regret it later? Maybe you opened up about an old mistake, a financial worry, or a past relationship, only to realize that it changed the way people saw you. It happens more often than we think. As we get older, we gather wisdom, but we also learn a hard truth. Not everything needs to be shared. In this video, I'm going to reveal 5 important things you should never share with your family after 65. These aren't secrets in the way you might think. This isn't about deception, it's about wisdom. It's about understanding that some thoughts, feelings, and experiences are best kept to yourself, not because they aren't important, but because sharing them could do more harm than good. Now, before we dive in, I'd love to know, where are you tuning in from? Comment below and share your city. I always enjoy hearing from you. And don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more tips like these. Trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming up next. Alright, let's get started. The first thing you should never share after 65 is 1. Deep regrets and past mistakes. Regret is a heavy thing to carry. As we get older, we naturally reflect on our past, the things we did, the choices we made, and the roads we didn't take. It's human nature to think, what if I had done things differently? But while it's normal to feel this way, sharing these regrets with family, especially your children, can have unintended consequences. You might think that opening up about your regrets will bring you relief, that talking about your past mistakes will help your loved ones understand you better. But the truth is, it often does the opposite. When you share your deepest regrets, you might think you're just telling a story about your life. But your family, especially your children, hear something very different. Imagine telling your son or daughter, "I wish I had chosen a different career." To you, it might just be an honest reflection. But to them, it might sound like, "Was my father unhappy his whole life? Did my mother feel unfulfilled while raising us? If they could go back, would they change everything, including me?" These thoughts can leave a lasting impact. Your child may start to question their own life choices, wondering if they, too, will look back with regret. They may even start feeling guilty, believing that they were part of the reason you didn't pursue a different path. And it's not just children. Sharing regrets with a spouse, a sibling, or even a close friend can change the way they see you. Instead of seeing you as strong and wise, they might start seeing you as someone who carries sadness, a person stuck in the past rather than enjoying the present. Now, let's be clear. This doesn't mean you should never talk about your past. Sharing life lessons is important. But there's a difference between teaching from your experience and unloading your regrets. Instead of saying, "I wish I had done this differently," try saying, "One thing I've learned in life is this small shift can make a huge difference." It turns a regret into wisdom. It transforms something painful into something meaningful. And here's the most important part. Focusing too much on regrets takes away from the time you have now. Every moment spent dwelling on the past is a moment not fully lived in the present. You can't change what's behind you, but you can control what's ahead. So, the next time you feel the urge to share an old regret, stop and ask yourself, will this bring me peace, or will it just make someone else feel burdened? If it won't bring peace, maybe it's better left unsaid. 2. Financial struggles or wealth. Money has a strange way of changing relationships. It doesn't matter if you're struggling financially or if you're doing well. Talking too much about money can shift the way your family sees you. And once that shift happens, it's hard to go back. Let's talk about financial struggles first. If you constantly share your worries about money, rising expenses, medical bills, or concerns about outliving your savings, your children or relatives might start feeling responsible for you. They may begin worrying more than they should, even if you never asked for help. Think about it. If your son or daughter hears you repeatedly saying, "I don't know how I'm going to manage my expenses next year," how do you think they'll feel? They love you, so naturally, they'll want to help. But that help might come at a cost. Maybe they'll sacrifice their own financial goals, delaying their retirement, skipping vacations, or even working extra hours to support you. Maybe they'll start seeing you differently, not as the strong, independent person they've always known, but as someone who needs to be taken care of. Maybe they'll begin avoiding conversations about money altogether, not because they don't care, but because they feel helpless. And here's the worst part. Even if you don't need financial help, just talking about your struggles can make your family feel obligated to step in. They might feel guilty spending on themselves while you're worried about your finances. On the flip side, Talking too much about financial success can also create problems. If your family knows you have a comfortable retirement, own valuable assets, or have a large savings account, it might change their expectations. Some relatives might start assuming you'll help them out if they ever face money troubles. Others might see you as a source of financial support rather than a loved one they cherish. Conversations about inheritance and assets can lead to tensions, jealousy, and even conflicts between siblings or family members. Now, does this mean you should never talk about money? Of course not. It's important to be honest about your financial situation with the right people, your spouse, a trusted financial advisor, or someone who genuinely needs to know. But oversharing with everyone else can unintentionally create expectations, stress, or resentment. So what's the solution? Instead of talking about your financial struggles or wealth, focus on sharing financial wisdom. If your kids or grandkids ask about money, don't just tell them how much you have or how much you struggle. Teach them the lessons you've learned. Instead of saying, "I don't know how I'm going to afford everything next year," try saying, "One thing I've learned about money is that careful planning makes all the difference." Instead of saying, "I have more than enough saved for retirement," try saying, "I've always believed in smart financial decisions, and I encourage you to do the same." This way, you're protecting your peace while still passing on valuable lessons. At the end of the day, money is just a tool. It shouldn't define your relationships. The less you share about your financial situation, the more you protect yourself from unnecessary complications. 3. Strong personal opinions about family members. Family relationships are complicated. No matter how much we love each other, there are always differences in personality, choices, and lifestyles. And as we get older, we may start noticing things we don't agree with more than ever. Maybe your son married someone you don't fully trust. Maybe your daughter is raising her kids in a way that feels unfamiliar to you. Maybe a sibling has changed over the years, and you no longer feel as close. Whatever it is, it's natural to have opinions, but sharing them openly can do more harm than good. Why? Because once words are spoken, they can't be taken back. Even if you didn't mean to hurt anyone, your comment might stay in their mind for years. And sometimes, it doesn't just affect your relationship with that one person. It creates divisions within the family that are hard to repair. Think about this. If you criticize your daughter-in-law to your son, he might feel caught in the middle, forced to choose between defending his wife and respecting you. If you voice disappointment in your grandchildren's choices, they might start distancing themselves from you, feeling like they can never live up to your expectations. If you share your frustrations about one sibling with another, it might spread tension and create unnecessary family conflicts. And here's the tricky part. Even if the person you confide in seems to agree with you at the moment, they might remember your words differently later. You might say something in frustration, expecting it to be forgotten, but it lingers, changing how people feel about you. Now, let's be clear. I'm not saying you should never express your feelings. Honest conversations can be valuable, but only when they are constructive and necessary. The key is knowing when to speak and when to hold back. If your opinion is going to strengthen a relationship, share it. If it's going to create unnecessary tension or pain, it might be better left unsaid. So, what can you do instead of openly criticizing or sharing personal opinions about family members? Try shifting your focus to understanding rather than judging. Instead of thinking, "I don't like the way my daughter is raising her kids," try asking, "What can I learn from the way she parents? How can I support her without interfering?" Instead of saying, "My son-in-law isn't good enough for my daughter," try thinking, "What does she love about him? How can I focus on their happiness instead of my concerns?" Instead of sharing negative thoughts with other family members, write them down for yourself. Sometimes, just putting feelings into words privately can help you process them without hurting anyone. At the end of the day, your relationships are more important than proving a point. Holding on to peace is far more valuable than holding on to the need to be right. And here's something to remember. People rarely change because of criticism. They change because they feel loved, supported, and understood. If you want to influence your family in a positive way, lead with kindness, not judgment. 4. Constant talk about health issues. As we age, it's natural for health to become a bigger part of life. Doctor visits, medications, aches, and pains, these things take up more space in our daily routines. But when health becomes the main topic of conversation with family, it can change the way they see and interact with you. Of course, You should talk about important medical concerns when necessary. If you have a serious condition, your loved ones should know. But bringing up every small discomfort, every new symptom, or every doctor's visit can create unintended consequences. Here's why. You may be seen as fragile instead of strong. Your family, especially your children and grandchildren, have always looked up to you. They've seen you as someone wise, capable, and independent. But when every conversation revolves around health struggles, they might start to see you differently. Instead of the strong, resilient person you are, they might begin treating you with caution, as if you're fragile, as if you need protection. They may stop sharing their own problems with you, fearing they'll add to your worries. They may even begin avoiding certain conversations because they don't want to hear another health update. Now, of course, this doesn't mean your family doesn't care. They love you deeply. But when health becomes the center of every discussion, it can make interactions feel heavy instead of joyful. It can lead to unnecessary worry and stress. Think about this. If every time your child calls, they hear about your latest health problem, how do you think they'll feel? They might start dreading the phone call, not because they don't want to talk to you, but because they're afraid of bad news. They might feel helpless, unsure of what to do. Some children, especially those who live far away, may even feel guilty, thinking they should be doing more, even when there's nothing they can realistically do. Your conversations lose the joy of connection. Family time should be about laughter, love, and shared experiences. But if every visit or phone call turns into a health report, it can take away from the joy of simply being together. Instead of discussing only health issues, try shifting the conversation to things that bring life and energy into your relationships. Talk about memories, share wisdom, discuss your favorite books, hobbies, or even something funny you saw on TV. Let your loved ones see all the things that still make you, not just your medical condition. So what should you do? Does this mean you should never talk about your health? Of course not. But it's about balance. If there's something serious that your family needs to know, tell them. But if it's just a minor discomfort or something that isn't urgent, ask yourself, do I need to bring this up? Or can I focus on something more positive? Instead of saying, I have so many aches and pains today, try saying, I went for a walk today, and it felt good to get fresh air. Instead of starting every conversation with health updates, ask your family about their lives. Show them that you're still engaged, still interested, still full of life. At the end of the day, your health is just one part of who you are. It doesn't have to define every conversation. 5. Excessive fear and anxiety about the future. As we get older, it's natural to think about the future, our health, our family, what will happen after we're gone. But when conversations become dominated by fear and worry, it can put an emotional weight on those around us. Of course, life comes with uncertainties. We don't know how many years we have left, how our health will hold up, or what the world will look like in the years to come. But constantly expressing these fears to your family can change the way they feel about spending time with you. Your family might start feeling helpless. When you regularly talk about your fears, whether it's about getting older, being alone, or the world changing too fast, your children and loved ones may feel powerless to help you. They might want to reassure you, to fix things, but some worries simply don't have a solution. If they keep hearing, I'm afraid of being a burden, or I don't know what's going to happen to me, they may begin feeling emotionally drained. Instead of enjoying conversations with you, they might start approaching them with a sense of obligation, not because they don't love you, but because they don't know how to ease your worries. Worrying too much about the future steals joy from the present. Every moment spent dwelling on fear is a moment lost in the present. And right now, this very moment is still yours to live. If you spend too much time worrying about the what-ifs, you might miss out on the joy that still exists, the laughter with family, the stories yet to be told, the experiences still waiting for you. Instead of focusing on what could go wrong, try shifting your mindset. Instead of saying, I don't know how much time I have left, try saying, I want to make the most of the time I have. Instead of fearing loneliness, try reaching out and making new connections, whether through community activities, hobbies, or simply calling an old friend. Instead of worrying about what will happen after you're gone, try focusing on the legacy of love and wisdom you can leave behind. Your family needs to see your strength, not just your fears. Your children, grandchildren, and loved ones look up to you. They need to see that aging doesn't have to be filled with fear. It can also be filled with wisdom, grace, and even excitement for the years ahead. Of course, that doesn't mean you should ignore your fears completely. It's okay to acknowledge them, but don't let them become the center of your conversations. Instead of repeating worries over and over, find ways to channel those thoughts into something meaningful. Write down your thoughts in a private journal. It helps clear your mind. Talk to a friend or someone in your age group who understands your feelings. Focus on what brings you joy, purpose, and connection. The truth is, no one knows what the future holds. But one thing is certain, worrying about it won't change it. What you can control is how you choose to live right now. So, instead of letting fear lead the way, choose gratitude, connection, and presence. Let your family remember you not for your worries, but for your wisdom, kindness, and the love you shared every day. And that brings us to the end of this video. But before you go, I have a question for you. What is one thing from this video that you will apply in your own life? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And if you found these lessons valuable, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so we can continue bringing you content that matters. Thank you for your time, and remember, your peace is in your hands. Choose it wisely.